Welcome everybody. This is Kiv bringing you another replay analysis from Reddit, and it's a PvP between the Protoss player Selkies and the other Protoss player Horizons. From what I gathered in the Reddit thread, both these players are at least high diamond, so it's going to be a really interesting PvP. Let's just speed through the initial moments of the game. We see Selkies scouting. Actually, a little point here. When you're actually scouting here for proxies, why don't you just go slightly just further in to see this whole area here? Because if I wanted to hide something here, I would hide it somewhere here-ish. Just as far in as possible to make it harder to spot. Just a general thing that I'd like to point out. So Selkies is actually scouting now, and he scouted cross map first. And when he gets to his opponent's base, he actually scouts for proxies here as well. He's gonna see one gas, two pylons, which means that there are no pylons out in the field right now, and a gateway. Horizon is actually not scouting at all at this point. Okay, there he brings out his scouting probe. Cybernetics core, one gas. Cybernetics core, one gas. That's pretty standard at this point. It's going to be interesting to see when they add their second gas. Oh, and there, Selkies. That's his second gas. And is Horizon going to scout that? Is he actually just going to scout the... He did just scout one gas. Okay, he's going back now, because it's really important to see both the gases. It's really telltale of what's coming. One gas generally means 4 gate. That's generally. Nothing is ever for granted, but we see Selkies getting first a Zealot, and then a Stalker, and then another Stalker, and his Warp Gate. He's pretty high on the Warp, or the Chrono Boost energy here, which means that he's gonna get his Warp Gate really fast. Selkies, on the other hand, a little bit lower. It's gonna be slightly behind, 10 seconds or so. Getting that sentry first. It's gonna be really good early on as a defensive unit, obviously, on the ramp. Generally, making more stalkers and zealots and no sentry is a sign that you might want to go aggressive. So it looks like a 3-gate robo from Horizons, and it looks like a 3-gate robo as well. It's a 4-gate robo, and that actually probably is gonna be some kind of maybe Warp Prism drop 4-gate or so. It's gonna be interesting because when you're dropping Warp Prism 4-gate, you're gonna be doing a 4-gate maybe here or back in the base or something like that. But then your sentry doesn't mean anything really. So if you're going for something like a 3-gate into expansion or something similar, you might just flat out die. Or maybe if you're going for some DTs, and your DTs are slow or something, or your opponent has an observer or so, which he actually did get first, that means that it's going to be pretty much denied. So he walks out, and there comes the warp prism, and he's going to be able to warp in here ASAP. I don't really get why he didn't warp in here as soon as he could with the observer. Maybe that area is slightly too small. And he's just going to be lifting up. Oh, and Horizon actually spots that with his observer. So 4 stalkers, actually 5, and 2 immortals. It's going to be no problem stopping this 4-game. Focus firing the stalkers, the immortals would be preferred, but it's not. The 4-gate's not going to do anything, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of follow-up these players have. They're both not making any probes, so I think that Horizon might be going for that aggression back. Getting this observer is really, really smart. First of all, it allows you to shoot up the high ground, naturally. Second, it obviously gives you an opportunity to maybe snipe some sentries. Otherwise, you're not going to get up this ramp. If you're not going to get up this ramp, then this aggression is useless. I would prefer sending a zealot instead of the probe to just scout, and yeah, that's also something. If you're rallying your observer, just go slightly further out so your observer won't get sniped like that, because now this aggression is useless, and Horizon actually knows that, so it's throwing up the expand and a slight probe transfer. That's really okay. There was a warp prism here at the same time, and it did some damage. Killed 5 probes, which is a nice little play there by Selkies. Horizon following up this with Colossi. 2 base Colossi is really strong, but you have to make a timing push out of it, I think. And there's some more probes go down. Horizon, with all his units on the other side of the map, can't do that much about it. When you're getting dropped like this, you need a few stalkers in your base at all times, unless you know for a fact that the warp prism is dead. Selkies can just keep on harassing this area here with the warp prism as long as he has the multitasking ability to do so. And the expansion for Horizons is now done. Meanwhile, Selkies is going for those Archons, so it's going to be probably Charge Lot and Archon, which is really, really good against, or in the mirror matchup as well. I don't know exactly how well it fares against Colossi, but I would think that unless you have an insane amount of Colossi, Charge Lot Archon will still be really good. Especially if you opt to go for that pretty early forge with the shield upgrade, because it's going to benefit all your units. And it's going to be a huge asset if you're going Charge Lot Archon. Selkies is actually not adding any more probes at this point, but he is getting this expansion up here. Now this is a play which I'm a bit torn on how good I think that this is. I don't generally like getting expansions on the other side of the map, especially not on a map like this. It's really easy for Horizon to do something like a warp prism drop here. Horizon or Selkies will then go with some units to his base. Meanwhile, Horizon can easily just slip past and deny this base. really easily. But that also means that he needs to be active with his scouting. Again, the Warp Prism here, doing some nice run around, and probably gonna get some more probe kills unless he reacts really well with the Zealots and the Immortals here. Again, if you're coming up and facing a play like this with the Warp Prism, I would generally advise, on this map at least, to have a few Stalkers here, because the Warp Prism harassing this base will come from this angle here, always. Maybe here, but that's pretty unlikely. There we have some Stalkers, but the Warp Prism is actually going to get away. Also, you'll want to have a few Stalkers over here, because the Warp Prism harassing this base will generally not go through this base and up here. So the Warp Prism will be coming from this area here. Another tiny tinsy little thing to get, if you're getting heavily Warp Prism harassed like this, he has lost 20 probes to the impending Warp Prism harass. That means that you'll probably want to get Blink ASAP, because picking that Warp Prism off should be a high priority. We actually see Horizon having his Warp Prism of his own. These Stalkers are ready for the drop here. The Immortal drop is, of course, really, really strong, especially if you warp in those Zealots to protect the Immortal. You can actually just snipe a Nexus or something like that. I am curious. First Forge of the game, going up at 7. It's going to be finished at like 1740, and I think that's really late. And here we see that Warp Prism play, warping in those Zealots to maybe tank some damage, but Selkies actually has his army way out on the map, just generally because he has this other base on the other side of the map, and you'll want to be defensive in the middle. This trade was definitely worth it for Horizon. He lost 1 Immortal and 3 Zealots for the entire Nexus. And Selkies getting his 3rd, which is now going to be his 2nd base, and producing a lot of Void Rays. I do like this type of play where you tech switch like this. It's going to be a really nice addition to the Zealot Archon heavy army of Selkies to have a few air units, especially against the Colossi, seeing as they can't shoot air. However, Horizons is actually pumping some Colossi with 2 robotics facilities. This is really important as you steer your course towards that late game. And there you actually see, or there you actually see me miss the Warp Prism snipe from Horizon. And actually, Horizon should be more active with these Immortals. Selkies doesn't really have anything. He could snipe the Forge. I don't really understand why he does not do that. He has Warp Prism speed as well, which is really nice if you already have that Robotics Bay and you're going Colossi and you want to harass with your Warp Prism like this. Getting that upgrade is going to be worth it if you're really active with your harass. Unfortunately for Horizons here, Selkies is ready with his army and denies that drop nicely. We see that ground armor level 1 going up for Selkies. I don't know if I agree with that. I would much rather prefer the shield upgrade, just because it benefits much more, in my opinion. And we see Horizon is adding his first forge at 22 minutes or so. It's really interesting how these players both skip upgrades for a long time. And again, so active with this Warp Prism. It just, every time he drops with the Warp Prism like this, it just gains him another tiny advantage. Every single time, and we've seen that so many times this game. It's been a pretty passive game as far as the big battles are concerned, but these small aggressions, just a few zealots, have denied so many probes. Let's just check how many probes he's actually killed. And it's up to 31, and that's a huge number. Horizons could be sitting pretty at 80 probes by now. His income would be a lot higher, and he would skyrocket in supply really fast, and he could have pushed with the army he has now. If he pushed, let's just pause for a second and just look at how much or what kind of units and how many both players have. So Selkies has 17 zealots, 2 immortals, 4 archons, 7 void rays, and 5 stalkers. And for Horizons we see 19 stalkers and 1 sentry and 5 colossi and 9 zealots. No upgrades for Horizons, 1 armor upgrade for Selkies. If these armies actually clashed right now, I would definitely give the advantage to Horizons at this point, because these 5 colossi are gonna do a lot of damage to these zealots. I'm not sure if he would actually win this battle. It depends on the stalker's role and the zealot's role in the battle. If these immortals can do, actually if this immortal can do enough damage to the stalkers, maybe, or if the void rays get to do enough damage, Selkies can win. But I would say that Horizons might be slightly stronger on the army side of things right now. But we'll see what happens. Horizon is getting his 3rd up and chrono boosting that weapons upgrade. Also getting Blink, which is a good choice, especially seeing as that you're so stalker heavy. Just might as well get that upgrade. And Horizon actually did not scout this base at all this game, and I feel like that might be his undoing. Maybe he's in the mindset that his opponent is on 1 base right now, and he's just being so defensive and just protecting his expansion. He even has some cannons here. He might think that he's on a massive advantage because he has 2.5 base against 1, when in fact it's more like 2 fully saturated bases and almost a gold. So Horizon, if you're watching this, please scout more, especially after that nice aggression here where you denied so much. If you scout or remain active with your scouting after that and see when his expansion hits, you're gonna know around how far ahead you are at that point. or rather what your opponent is doing as well. Your opponent might be going for a big all-in on one base. So we just see Selkies adding on a mothership, and they're both just closing in on that maxed out army. We see a few zealots again for Selkies, just doing an amazing job of denying these probes. He's up to almost 40, and I feel like without that kind of harassment, then Horizon would be in a really, really nice spot at this point. But he's lost so many probes, and he's not really doing that well on the upgrades either. He's almost got his 2 weapons upgrade, and he's up against 2 armor upgrade. And Selkies has both ground and armor coming after this, and even a carrier. And if a nice vortex goes off, and I just think that at this point Selkies is going to destroy Horizon when they actually engage. Some idle probes, more idle probes, and again, Zealots in a really nice position here to guard this base up here. They've been here the whole game actually. Just adding another layer of defense to the early base he took up here. And we see Horizon is moving out. It's gonna come down to how well he can maybe snipe the mothership and how much damage the Colossi are gonna do. He's got 8 Colossi at this point, and they're gonna rip through most of this army if he can snipe the mothership. And yeah, no. Horizon just getting mashed. His supply plummeting 80 supply, and Selkies only losing 15 supply-ish. Again, denying this base with a few zealots. Horizon can't really do anything at this point, and it's just a good game. Really nice Warp Prism play this game. I feel like I would rather, at the choice of my natural base or my second base, I would rather have chosen this, just for easy defense. If Horizon had scouted that early, he could have turned that into a massive advantage, because it's so hard to defend these scattered bases early game. Both players, I think, upgrades to say the least. I would love to see some more upgrades. They did pick up speed after the 20-minute mark or so, and Selkies has gained 3-1 at least. That's pretty nice, but I would have loved to see them earlier, especially that shield upgrade, which is still missing, which is oh so important when you're going for a lot of Archons. And yeah, Horizon even more on the upgrades part and the scouting part especially. When you have a fast warp prism like that, and even an observer, just go around the map a little bit and just watch for those kind of hidden maybe expansions. You're not gonna find one every game naturally, but on the games that you find one, it's a nice advantage to know that. First you know that your opponent expanded, and that's really important. Secondly, you know that your opponent has a base far away, so turn that into an advantage. Drop the main. When his units arrive there, push the faraway base or something like that. There are a number of ways to capitalize on something like that. Well, I think that's actually all for me. And yeah, really, really nice game. I love to watch it, and it was interesting to take a moment and think about the things going on. I hope to see you guys that are watching some other time. Thanks for watching, everybody.